Guys, if you were to Google right now, provisional GDC registration, you'll find a result that gives you some hope to getting yourself through the ORE or the LDS, skipping it entirely and working in the UK as a dentist with the current degree or qualification that you may have from abroad, which is great news. Unfortunately, a lot of people online are exploiting this piece of information and making it sound as though this law has come to pass. The reality is, unfortunately, it's not really as good as it sounds just yet, but there is still some hope. So let's get into it. At the moment, the NHS and the government are working together to try to make it easier for dentists that have qualified abroad to come back and work in the UK. Because of course we have a dental crisis in the UK at the moment, now in 2024, and it's been going on for a few years anyways, you all probably are aware of. And we're trying to actually get rid of that and curb that by bringing in a workforce that can help without having to go through the streams and streams of different hurdles in the way, such as the ORE, the registration with the GDC, getting your NHS performer number, and the list goes on, right? This is a new proposal by the government that's helping to give the GDC, which is obviously the board that looks after dentistry in the UK, more power to allow dentists to almost skip the ORE. Here's the caveats. Here's like the things that we need to know, right? If this is to go through, it doesn't mean that the provisional registration is permanent. That's the first thing to know. So if it does go through, anybody who takes this path needs to understand that the provisional registration is just a temporary way for you to work in the UK. At the same time, they're expecting you to still apply for the ORE or the LDS while you're working as a provisionally licensed dental practitioner in the UK. So it's not a permanent solution. This is just to keep you working in the UK, helping with the workforce, keeping your hands busy and keeping that experience there while you then plan to sit your exam. The other thing to note, it is very limited in terms of time as well. So it might be a year or 2 years max. They still have to decide this, and you can't reapply then for provisional registration. What this means is if you haven't completed the ORE or the LDS for any reason during that time, you will not be allowed to then apply again for the provisional license. You're pretty much destined to have to do the ORE or the LDS. Otherwise, your provisional license is just going to run out and then you'll have to go back to whichever country that you were initially registered with. So it is for serious candidates only. Why they're doing this, as I mentioned before, it is to kind of reduce the stress within the NHS at the moment and to help the amount of patients that we have that are looking for dental treatment on a day-to-day basis. The other thing to note is that when you are going to be working as a provisionally licensed dentist in the UK, if the law is passed of course, then something to bear in mind is that it will be completely supervised. There is not any instance in which you can work without supervision. So organising your mentor, and whether that comes at a cost, coming out of your own pocket or not, that's going to have to be something that you deal with yourself entirely or through an agency. And we all know that when you work through an agency, they usually take a commission or a rate from that as well. So you're not going to get the highest paying jobs, and you will be quite tied to how available your mentor might be at the time, because without the supervision, you can't actually do any procedure on a patient. So the mentorship and the supervision needs to be there for you regardless. So it's very important to understand this point as well. It's not just a free license to come here and just practice as you will. So you can do high street work, you can work privately and within the NHS, but again, it must be supervised all the way through the time you are provisionally registered. As I've kind of mentioned there, something to bear in mind, because of this, the rate that you might be getting paid as a dentist may not be that great. For example, if you're looking at private treatment for a composite filling in the UK, the average price is about £180. So half of that usually goes to the dentist, the other half goes to the clinic. Let's say for argument's sake, therefore, you make about £90 per composite filling. The likelihood is, because you're being supervised and because you're not fully qualified in their eyes, you may not receive all that money either. £90 would go to your clinic, let's say for example, your practice owner. Then of the £90 remaining, you might have to pay half of that to your mentor for helping you out, and then you might be left with 45. So in reality, it's not going to be a game changer in terms of coming here and making a lot of money in the first couple of years. You'll be grafting and you may feel as though you're being undervalued for the work that you're providing. So just bear that in mind also. So if we wind the clock back to March 2023, we'll actually see the government provided the GDC with enough power to actually allow for foreign students or foreign qualified dentists to come over and prove their worth in clinics in ways that the GDC could set out. So the way to kind of understand this is an assessment that the GDC provides, right, in any way, shape or form. It could be fulfill a certain portfolio of treatment, and they'll look at it and assess it, and if it's good enough, they could actually give you the license. The GDC currently, since last year, has the power to do this, but it's actually not implemented this whatsoever. So my fear here is that the power might be still given to the GDC to do a lot with provisional registration, for example, but they just might not implement it. So this could be one of those things that just goes round and round in circles, and we feel like, yeah, we're going somewhere with provisional registration and temporary registrations, etc. But in reality, nothing will be actioned. Of course, we need to keep our finger on the pulse, which brings me to my final point, which is how does this move forward? So at the moment, there's like a voting period that's going on, and you can actually get involved, go onto the government website. Yeah, again, if you just Google what I said at the beginning, so Provisional GDC registration UK, you'll find a government link from the UK, and from there you can vote as to what you think the government should action in terms of whether they should go ahead with this or not. During this voting phase, which will end, I think, on the 16th of May, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, once that's closed, it will be around 3 to 4 months of deliberation, and it will be going through different processes and parts of Parliament to be voted on by members of Parliament and the relevant bodies, i.e. the GDC, the NHS, all the rest of it. When everything is compiled, they will then make a decision as to whether they want to give that power to the GDC and whether we are going to have a phase of having provisional licenses given to people that are not qualified in the UK. So at the moment, where are we? Well, really, it's not cut and dry. I think a lot of people online are kind of pitching this idea as though it's going to be, life-changing event and we're suddenly going to be able to register no problem. But I don't think we should hang all our hope on it just yet, because it's still so far away. And even if the GDC get the power to do it, their track record shows they really don't do much with it. So in the meantime, the best thing that you can do is, of course, carry on with your studies, or if you've already qualified, then start working towards the LDS or the ORE. Apply accordingly for those seats, which are now getting larger in numbers. They are trying to help out with seats and people to apply for it. And over time, just work with the right courses to ensure that you've got the knowledge to pass those tests and work in the UK. As always, I am here to help. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me via my social media, which I always leave a link in the description for. Or if you'd like to just get in touch to have a call or speak over WhatsApp or a Zoom call, whatever it might be. Again, I'll leave my calendar link in the description below for you. You can just get in touch. It's completely free. I'm more than happy to just help and discuss things with people. So take advantage of it, because I'm more than happy to speak to people. And of course, if you want to be on my next video at any point, get in touch. We can throw some ideas together, come up with a great video that's going to help the community out there. So this one's done from me. I hope you've got the information that you need from here. Keep praying for some good success, and let's not put all of our eggs in one basket just yet. Let's see what happens in about 3 or 4 months' time. I'll make an update video, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get some good results from the voting that occurs. So thanks once again, guys, for tuning in. I hope to see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.